Welcome back to Science in Sleeping. I'm so glad you're here again tonight. It's time to slow down, to let your thoughts loosen their grip, and to drift gently into a space between awareness and rest. Tonight, we're going to wander through one of nature's quietest wonders, the rivers of our planet, those shimmering, flowing veins that carry life through the body of the earth. Tonight's story is called Nature's Veins, the Soothing Power of Earth's Rivers. And whether you're here to drift into sleep, or to let your mind float on the soft current of curiosity, I hope this journey will give you both learning and letting go, knowledge and calm, rest and wonder as you settle in. Take a slow breath in through your nose and let it fall gently out through your mouth. Let your shoulders drop, unclench your jaw. Let your body rest a little heavier on the surface beneath you, and just allow yourself to be here. In this moment, the day is done. The world can wait. This time is for you. Before we begin, I'd love for you to think of this not just as a story, but as a shared ritual, a quiet gathering of minds and hearts all over the world, each of us listening to the same flowing words, at different hours, in different places, yet somehow connected by the same sound, if you'd like. You can even let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is where you are. It's always amazing to see our little global constellation of sleepy minds, stretching across time zones and continents. Now, you don't need to remember anything I say tonight. You don't even need to stay awake. This isn't a lecture or a lesson. It's an experience. The science, the stories, the gentle rhythm, they're here to calm your thoughts, to guide your breathing, to give your mind a soft surface to rest on. So, if you drift off while listening, that's perfect. That's exactly what this space is for. Now, let's begin. Picture yourself standing at the edge of a slow, winding river. The air is cool, the light is dim. Maybe it's twilight, the kind of fading glow that turns water into liquid silver. You can hear the gentle hush of the current, the small ripples folding over one another, the occasional whisper of a leaf falling and landing softly on the surface. It's calm, ancient, steady, just like the heartbeat of the planet itself. In this episode, we'll drift through the science and soul of rivers, shape and nourish the earth, how their rhythm mirrors the flow of our own blood, and how, in their ceaseless movement, they teach us the art of balance and rest. From the icy streams born in mountain glaciers to the deep, meandering rivers that carve through forests and plains, every current tells a story of connection, patience, and change. So, for the next few hours, let your imagination float. Let your breath move like water, slow, smooth, continuous. Every inhale, a tide flowing in. Every exhale, a tide flowing out. We'll explore the science behind rivers, their chemistry, their ecosystems, their hidden physics. But we'll do it gently, in the rhythm of sleep, so that each new idea flows softly into the next, like a stream of thought that carries you toward dreams. Now, get comfortable, adjust your pillow. Let your arms rest where they naturally fall, and feel your breath sinking with the quiet tempo of the story. Because tonight, you're not just listening, you're floating, drifting downstream with the earth's ancient veins, guided by science, cradled by sound, and soothed by the endless flow of nature's calm. Let's begin our journey. Have you ever wondered where rivers begin? Not the ones you see from bridges or that wind across green valleys. But the very first trickle, the ancient moment when water decided to move, to flow, to carve its story into the skin of the earth. Maybe you've looked at a map and seen those thin blue lines, branching like veins through the body of continents, and thought, how did this begin? What force told the water to wander? And why, even after millions of years, does it never stop? Picture yourself high in the mountains. The air is crisp and thin, the kind that feels clean even to breathe. Around you lie fields of snow, stretching out under a soft silver sky. The world is quiet here, just the sound of wind gliding over the peaks. You kneel, and before you is a melting patch of snow, its edges glistening under a faint sun. A single droplet trembles at the tip, then falls, joining another, then another, slowly, patiently, until it becomes a trickle. You follow it as it slides down smooth stones, finding its path through tiny channels, whispering its way downhill. And though it begins small, fragile, temporary, this is the birth of a river. The story of every river begins with the story of water itself. Long before our world cooled, before there were clouds, or seas, or rain, Earth was a furnace of stone and fire. The water we know today arrived slowly, through the breath of volcanoes and the fall of comets. Tiny, icy travelers that crossed the dark of space when they collided with Earth. They delivered the gift of liquid life, hydrogen and oxygen joining in endless dance. That water pooled, boiled, froze, and rained again, cycling endlessly, shaping the planet's surface, and eventually carving the first rivers. Imagine raindrops falling on fresh rock millions of years ago. Each one found a crack, a hollow, a slope. And gravity, that silent sculptor, pulled them downward. At first, these were just paths of chance. But as water returned again and again, it began to remember its way. It cut deeper, wearing the stones smooth, and over time, it built the first channels. That's how rivers were born, not as grand bodies of water, but as persistent travelers. Their strength, not in force, but in patience. Scientists call this the hydrologic cycle, but it's more than a cycle. It's Earth's heartbeat. Water evaporates under sunlight, rises to the sky, cools, and returns as rain, then runs across land, collecting minerals, nourishing roots, and then, once again, becomes vapor. This endless movement is the secret rhythm of our planet. Without it, there would be no forests, no clouds, no life. Each river you've ever seen is just one pulse in this vast living system. Did you know that the water in your body, in your blood, your breath, even your tears, is ancient? The molecules within you once drifted in the clouds above oceans, once flowed in rivers older than any civilization. When you drink from a glass of water, you are tasting the memory of the planet itself. That's how deeply rivers connect us. They are not outside us, they move through us, in every cell, every heartbeat. Over time, rivers became the architects of the land. They carved valleys, shaped mountains, carried sediments to build deltas and plains. Even the smooth sand beneath your feet at the beach that began as mountain rock, broken, carried, and softened by water's patient hands. Every bend in a river is a lesson in time, every meander a reminder that even the strongest forces move in curves, not lines. Rivers don't rush to their destination. They flow, adjusting, adapting, finding balance between resistance and surrender. And while we often think of rivers as separate, Nile, Amazon, Ganges, Mississippi, they are, in truth, one connected body, linked through the cycle of evaporation and rain. The same water that drifts as mist above one river may fall as rain thousands of miles away, feeding another. It's as though the planet breathes through rivers, inhaling and exhaling water, binding continents through invisible threads of moisture. That's why scientists sometimes call rivers the veins of the earth. And when you think about it, that phrase is more than poetry. The rivers carry nutrients, oxygen, and life, just as our blood carries sustenance through our bodies. When they flow clean and strong, the earth thrives, and when they are blocked or polluted, the planet feels the strain. Now, pause for a moment and imagine yourself floating above the world, looking down at the dark blue curves of rivers winding across continents. They gleam like silver threads under the moon, connecting mountains to oceans, sky to soil. You can almost hear them, a quiet hum of energy, constant, eternal. Each river a whisper of Earth's long, steady breath. Rivers remind us that movement doesn't need to be fast to be powerful, that gentle persistence can carve mountains, and that rest and flow can exist together. When you feel life's weight pressing too strongly, remember, even the river begins as melting snow, tiny droplets that join and grow through connection. The strength of water lies not in one drop, but in the unity of many, and in that unity, it finds direction, it finds peace. You can feel it, can't you? That quiet rhythm, the pull of something greater than thought, like a current beneath your awareness. You might even notice your breath syncing with it. The slow inhale, the soft exhale, like the rise and fall of a gentle tide. Because you, too, are part of this flow, your body made of rivers, your mind shaped by their rhythm, and when you rest, you return to that same stillness at the heart of motion. Now, let's drift onward, downstream. The river begins to grow, fed by mountain streams. Rain and melting ice, it gathers strength. It changes sound, and as it travels, it begins to build worlds. We'll follow that journey next, and listen to how rivers sculpt the land, how they feed forests, shape valleys, and cradle life in every curve. For now, let the thought of that first drop, falling softly from snow to stone, carry you gently toward rest. We'll follow the flow together, one calm current at a time. Have you ever wondered how the soft touch of water can carve through mountains of stone? How something so fluid, so yielding, could sculpt valleys, cliffs, and canyons that stand for millions of years? It almost feels impossible, doesn't it? That rivers, gentle and slow, shimmering in sunlight, could have the power to shape entire continents. But they do, quietly, endlessly, and always in motion. They are the planet's most patient artists, the unseen sculptors of the world beneath our feet. Picture yourself standing at the edge of a great canyon. The air is still, filled with the faint hum of insects and wind. You look down and see layers of stone, each one a page of time, and at the bottom, far below, a narrow ribbon of water glides between the rocks. To the untrained eye, it seems small, too small to have created something so vast. But that river has been carving this world for longer than human memory. longer than the rise and fall of civilizations. Each drop that flows past your feet carries with it a fragment of stone, a grain of sand, a memory of the mountain it came from. Over thousands of years, those tiny fragments become a river's tool. They grind, polish, and dig. They cut through granite, sandstone, and clay. And what begins as a trickle through cracks becomes a valley, becomes a gorge, becomes a wonder of the world. This is the story of erosion, but not the harsh kind that destroys. This is the erosion that creates the steady, circular artistry of time. When scientists look at rivers, they see power hidden in repetition. The river never stops, even when it freezes. Even when drought thins its flow, it waits, it persists. Each current carries sediment, bits of rock and soil broken from higher ground. As the river winds, it drags this sediment along, scraping the bottom, reshaping the banks, and carrying those particles toward the sea. It is as though the river paints with stone, using the earth itself as its brush. Imagine, for a moment, watching this happen in slow motion. Thousands of years passing in the span of a few heartbeats. You'd see the mountains weep small streams, and those streams joining hands, becoming rivers. You'd watch them carve pathways deeper and deeper, their waters sparkling under shifting skies. You'd see valleys bloom, forests spreading along the banks, animals gathering to drink, entire ecosystems born from the soft insistence of flowing water. The river would widen, twisting and turning, following the easiest path, sometimes splitting, sometimes merging, and at each turn it would shape the land a little more. Did you know that the Grand Canyon took nearly 6 million years to form? And it's still changing, even now. The Colorado River, which carved it, carries about 500,000 tons of sediment every single day. That's the equivalent of 20,000 trucks of earth being quietly moved, not by machines, but by the calm persistence of water. If you stand there long enough, not for minutes, but for centuries, you would see how the canyon deepens, layer by layer. Each curve of the rock wall, a fingerprint of the river's patience. Each color band a memory of a different age. Even rivers that look calm on the surface are in constant motion beneath. They build and break at the same time, creating banks one season, erasing them the next. In that constant change lies their beauty. They are living things, shaping and reshaping their own path through time in some places. The river creates oxbow lakes, those crescent-shaped bodies of water that form when a bend becomes too tight and cuts itself off. It's almost as if the river, tired of its own curve, decides to start anew, leaving behind a shimmering reminder of its former path. And when rivers meet the sea, they do not end, they transform. The place where river meets ocean is called an estuary, and it's one of the richest, most fertile ecosystems on Earth. Here, salt and fresh water dance together, mixing nutrients, feeding plankton, sheltering fish, creating a cradle for life itself. The river, having traveled so far, does not disappear. It becomes part of something greater, its story blending into the rhythm of tides and waves. If you were to zoom out now, to look at Earth from space, you would see how rivers draw invisible art across the continents. From above, they resemble roots, branches, lightning patterns repeating across scales, as if the same divine geometry writes itself again and again. In sky, in land, in the vessels beneath our skin. That's no coincidence. The fractal branching of rivers mirrors the networks inside our bodies. The flow of blood through arteries, the movement of thoughts across neural pathways. The same physics governs them all. Fluid dynamics, the mathematics of flow. And in that repeating pattern lies a universal truth, that life is connection and flow is its language. You might think of a river as just water moving downhill, but really it's gravity turned into motion, energy turned into beauty. Every ripple is the universe's invisible equation made visible, a dance between mass, time, and pull. And yet, there's something deeper than the science, something that science can describe but not fully touch. It's the feeling that rivers evoke, that sense of ancient purpose, of time slowing down, of being small, but part of something vast. Think of ancient civilizations. Almost every great human settlement began beside a river. The Nile, the Tigris, the Indus, the Yangtze. They weren't just sources of water. They were teachers. Rivers taught us how to grow crops, how to trade, how to travel. They connected us long before roads or machines. Every drop of history is touched by a river's edge, and maybe, in some quiet way, rivers taught us something about flow itself, that life, too, is not meant to rush, but to wind, to find balance between movement and rest. Now imagine yourself sitting at the river's edge. The night has fallen. The stars shimmer on the surface of the slow-moving water. You can feel the cool mist rising. Hear the rhythmic splash of small waves against smooth stones. It's a sound as old as the planet, the sound of time whispering through water. You close your eyes, and in that darkness, the world begins to move differently. You can almost see the river from within. Feel its journey, its endless cycle of giving and taking, its soft power in shaping everything it touches. And as you listen, you might realize that rivers and dreams are not so different. Both flow through unseen channels, both shape our inner landscapes, and both remind us that stillness is never truly still. It's simply motion so calm you can finally rest inside it. Now, the river widens, its energy spreading across fertile plains, carrying with it the minerals, the nutrients, the quiet miracles of creation. In the next part of our journey, we'll drift beside that widening river and explore how water gives birth to life itself, how entire worlds bloom in its wake. But for now, let your mind rest on the soft rhythm of the current. Feel yourself becoming weightless, drifting downstream with the water. The sound of flow blending with your breath, and your thoughts dissolving like grains of sand, pulled gently toward sleep, toward peace, toward the next gentle turn in the river's long, endless story. Have you ever wondered why almost everything alive seems to gather near water? Why the edges of rivers feel more alive than anywhere else? Maybe you've noticed that when you walk along a riverbank, even the air feels richer, filled with sound, movement, and unseen energy. From the tiniest moss to the tallest tree, from insects to ancient civilizations, everything bends, leans, and grows toward the flowing water. But why? What is it about rivers that pulls all life toward them? As though some deep instinct whispers, here life can begin. Picture yourself standing at dawn beside a wide river. A soft mist clings to the surface, glowing gold under the first touch of light. Birds stir in the reeds, their wings catching the shimmer. The air carries the faint hum of insects, and beneath it the slow breath of water moving. Each ripple glows for an instant, then fades. You can smell the damp earth, that scent of birth and renewal. You crouch and touch the river's edge, and in that coolness, you can almost feel the pulse of everything it sustains. Billions of years ago, long before trees or wings or words, Earth's first living cells drifted in water. The earliest rivers were different then, warm, mineral-rich, bubbling through volcanic landscapes. Their currents carried the raw ingredients of life: hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, all swirling in chaotic soup. And somewhere in that endless motion, chemistry found rhythm. Molecules began to link, to replicate, to become something that could sense, divide, remember. Life, as we know it, began not with lightning or fire, but with gentle flow. The first rivers were wombs, cradling the fragile spark that would one day grow into forests and oceans and us. Even now, that legacy continues. Every river is still a moving nursery. Within its waters swim millions of unseen worlds: plankton, algae, bacteria, each one a tiny engine of creation. They feed fish, who feed birds, who feed forests, and the cycle never stops. If you could look through a microscope into a drop of river water, you would see galaxies of motion, spirals, tendrils, living threads intertwining. So much life in something that looks, from afar, perfectly still. Did you know that over 80% of the world's biodiversity lives in or near freshwater systems? And yet, rivers cover less than 1% of Earth's surface. That contrast, small area, infinite life, is what makes rivers sacred in the language of science. Their banks become breeding grounds, their mud rich with nutrients carried from faraway mountains. Every flood, though it may seem destructive, is also an act of renewal. When a river rises, it spreads a thin film of life across the land, depositing minerals, seeds, and organic matter. That's how entire forests begin. That's how soil remembers where life once was. Imagine a single seed carried downstream, a speck of green potential swirling in the current. Days later, it settles into soft silt along the bend of the river. Rain falls, sun warms the mud, and the seed opens. Tiny roots reach downward into the dark. Searching for moisture, the plant grows. Its leaves drink sunlight, and when it matures, it drops more seeds, some falling close, others swept away. In this way, the river doesn't just move water, it moves life. It writes green lines across continents, tracing the route of creation itself and the creatures. Elephants crossing dry savannas can smell a river from miles away. Birds migrate along waterways, following the glimmer of reflection that leads them home. Salmon are born in the cold headwaters of mountain rivers. They travel thousands of miles to the ocean, and years later, against impossible odds, they return to the very same stream to spawn. No map, no compass, just the river's memory carried inside their cells, a biological echo guiding them back. Beneath the surface, life continues in layers unseen. Roots weave into the soil, forming living nets that hold the riverbank together. Insects lay eggs on reeds, their larvae drifting like transparent ghosts. Fish glide through sun-streaked water, their scales flashing like scattered stars. Beavers build dams, reshaping flow and creating wetlands that host entire micro-universes. Even decay becomes creation here. Fallen leaves sink, break down, and feed the invisible millions that fuel the system again. Nothing in a river truly ends, it only changes form. Science calls this a dynamic equilibrium, but to the sleeping mind, it feels like a heartbeat. Each organism, from the smallest microbe to the vast floodplain forest, beats in time with the same slow rhythm. When one life fades, another rises. When one bend erodes, another forms. And all of it happens so naturally, so gracefully, that we barely notice the miracles beneath our feet. There's a quiet suspense in this realization, because once you see how much depends on rivers, you begin to sense how fragile they are. A single dam, a stretch of pollution, a drought, and the chain trembles. Entire species vanish unseen. Whole stories end before they're told. And yet rivers endure. They find new roots, new voices. They heal themselves when given space. Their resilience is a lesson to us that life's true strength lies not in resistance, but in the ability to bend, to flow, to begin again. If you close your eyes now, you might hear the layers of life singing together. The buzzing of insects near the surface, the soft plop of a frog slipping into water, the distant cry of a bird, the hum of unseen currents beneath. It's a song without melody, yet every listener feels its meaning. It tells you that you belong, that you are part of this great breathing web, connected by the same water that once flowed through ancient seas, through glaciers, through the veins of earth, and through the rhythm of your own body. Take a breath, slow and deep. Feel it rise like a tide, and fall like a river meeting the ocean. Inside you, water moves in quiet pathways, feeding cells, carrying oxygen, whispering life. You are a river too, flowing between moments, carrying memories, shaping your own landscapes. Your thoughts drift like currents, your dreams gather like pools in still water, and your rest tonight will ripple outward into tomorrow. Now, imagine the camera of your mind lifting once more, rising above the river, above the forest, above the curve of the earth below you. Blue threads shine across green continents, every one a living artery, every one a story of survival and flow. In the distance, clouds gather, ready to return water to the land again. The cycle never ends, and that is its perfection. Nothing wasted, nothing lost, only transformation, only return. The river you followed from the mountains has now become wide, ancient, wise. It carries not only water, but the history of everything it has touched. It knows the scent of pine and stone, the warmth of sunlight, the shadows of storms, and soon it will reach the sea, a final merging, a soft surrender. But that's a story we'll drift into next, a story of endings that are not endings at all. For now, let the river cradle you, its currents winding through your thoughts, its sound blending with your heartbeat. And as your eyelids grow heavy, know that the same power that sculpts mountains and feeds forests moves gently within you too, quiet, patient, eternal, always flowing toward peace. Have you ever wondered what happens when a river meets the sea? It sounds simple, doesn't it? One body of water flowing into another. But in truth, It's one of the most mysterious and delicate moments in all of nature. A merging of opposites, a quiet collision between worlds that should never coexist. Freshwater and saltwater, light and shadow, origin and destination. In that invisible line where they meet, the world changes, and for a brief moment, creation holds its breath. Imagine standing on a vast shoreline at dusk. The sun melts into the horizon, turning the sky into molten gold and rose. The river approaches the ocean like a pilgrim returning home, its current slowing, hesitating, carrying with it memories of mountains, forests, and rain. You can feel the pull of two forces, the river's yearning to continue, and the ocean's deep, eternal invitation to dissolve. The wind grows cooler, and somewhere beneath the surface, a quiet alchemy begins. At this boundary, called the estuary, freshwater and saltwater weave into each other in swirling ribbons. It's neither river nor sea, but something entirely new, a living laboratory of change. Here, the salinity shifts with every tide, currents fold and twist like silk, and the water becomes alive with transition. If you could look closer, deeper, you'd see countless microworlds forming, plankton rising, fish adapting, and invisible chemical dances playing out in perfect rhythm. There is suspense here, because nothing survives easily. Every creature that lives in the estuary must learn to breathe in to worlds, to survive where oxygen, light, and salt never remain the same. Small shrimp dart through changing currents, birds hover above, waiting for flashes of silver near the surface, and deep within the cloudy water, young fish find refuge. Their bodies learning to endure the uncertain. Many of them were born in mountain rivers, and will one day swim out into the open sea, just as the river itself does. Each tide becomes a rehearsal for that great journey. For centuries, poets and scientists have both watched these places with wonder. Ancient civilizations built their cities here, where the river gave life, and the ocean gave trade, from the Nile Delta to the mouth of the Ganges. These meeting grounds have always been sacred. They are places of beginning and ending, of homecoming and farewell. The first fishermen learned to read the language of tides here, to sense when the river's breath would mix with the sea's salt. Even now, millions of people live near estuaries, often without realizing how fragile these thresholds truly are. The water in an estuary carries secrets. Every droplet of river water remembers where it came from. It has touched stones in distant valleys, fallen as rain from forgotten storms, and flowed past roots, soil, and life. By the time it reaches the sea, it is no longer pure. It holds minerals, nutrients, even fragments of leaf and earth. The ocean, in return, gives salt and motion together. They create new chemistry, rich, fertile, and unpredictable. That's why estuaries are among the most productive ecosystems on Earth. They are nurseries of both life and mystery, but not all of it is visible. Beneath the surface, strange things happen. Invisible boundaries, holoclines, separate the layers of water. Sometimes you can even see them, a shimmering divide that looks like heat in the air. Freshwater glides over saltwater, refusing to mix. It's as if the two recognize their difference, and for a moment they test each other's strength. This tension creates a haunting beauty, the kind of beauty that feels alive. You can almost sense the river whispering, I have carried life across the land, and the sea answering. I have waited to receive it as the night deepens. The estuary changes again, the moon rises, and the tides breathe in and out. The soft hiss of retreating waves becomes a lullaby. Somewhere offshore, a dolphin breaks the surface, its curved form catching moonlight. Closer to the shore, reeds sway gently, and the scent of salt fills the air. It's strange how stillness can feel so full of movement, how silence can sound like 1,000 quiet voices whispering beneath the water. The suspense of this place lies not in danger, but in transformation. Every second, the line between river and sea disappears and reforms, a living edge that never stays still. Even the land shifts here. Sandbars appear and vanish. Estuaries grow, shrink, change direction. Whole coastlines evolve from this dance of flow. It's as though Earth itself is sculpting in slow motion, shaping beauty from uncertainty. For a moment, close your eyes and listen. Can you hear it? The murmur of two waters meeting, the faint bubbling beneath the waves, the call of a night heron drifting overhead. Every sound here has purpose. Every current carries a message. You realize that even chaos has order, not the kind that humans measure, but the kind nature understands instinctively. If rivers are the veins of the planet, then estuaries are its beating hearts. They pump energy and nutrients outward, feeding coastal life for miles beyond what the eye can see. Tiny organisms bloom in the twilight water, attracting fish, which attract birds, which feed mammals, and thus the web continues. Each cycle returning life to the source, no part wasted, no current meaningless. And yet, for all their power, estuaries are fragile. They are the first to suffer when the balance breaks. Pollution from abrivore travels down, collecting in the calm waters where life begins. Dams slow the river's pulse, starving the sea of fresh energy. And rising oceans push salt further inland, changing what creatures can survive. Still, nature finds ways to heal. The river flows again after drought, new roots take hold, and the tides continue to whisper against the shore, reminding us that balance, though fragile, is never fully lost. Now imagine drifting on a small wooden boat. The night is cool, the water calm. You dip your fingers into the surface and feel two temperatures: cool, fresh water sliding above, warm, salt water beneath. They swirl together, and a faint light shimmers where your hand moves. Bioluminescence, tiny organisms glowing softly in response to touch. Each movement paints a fleeting constellation in the dark, and you realize you're tracing the same energy that once began life itself. There's something eternal in this moment. The river, having traveled so far, finally meets its destiny. It doesn't resist. It doesn't fear the loss of its name. It simply becomes part of something greater, flowing freely into the infinite. And as the water mixes, so do stories, so do worlds. Every drop that entered this sea will rise again as vapor, fall again as rain, return again as river. There are no true endings, only quiet beginnings, wearing different faces. The tide turns now, slowly, silently, drawing the sea inward once more. You can hear the rhythm, a deep heartbeat beneath the surface. It feels like the earth breathing. And maybe that's what it is. Everything, river, sea, sky, you moving in the same ancient rhythm. The same flow that guided the first rivers through volcanic stone now guides your dreams toward calm and peace. So, as you rest, let the sound of the estuary fill your imagination. The mingling of salt and fresh, the endless give and take, the promise that everything, no matter how far it travels, always finds its way home. You are part of that same story, the same current, and tonight, as your thoughts drift like waves, you'll hear that gentle whisper that there is no separation, no boundary, only flow, only belonging, only return. Have you ever wondered what sleeps beneath the waves? When the river's journey ends and the ocean begins, what secrets lie hidden in that endless blue? It's easy to think of the ocean as one great body, but beneath its calm surface stretches a world that feels more like another planet than part of our Earth, a realm of silence, darkness, and strange, pulsing life, a place where sunlight fades to nothing and pressure rises until steel would bend. And yet, somehow, life glows there, quietly, beautifully, as if dreaming. Picture yourself floating on a moonlit sea. The air is cool, the world above you is still. The stars shimmer across the water like scattered diamonds. And beneath you, miles of unseen movement, currents swirling in slow circles, whales singing their low, haunting songs, and entire ecosystems drifting like clouds through an alien sky. Now imagine sinking, slowly, gently, down through the layers of the ocean. Each meter you descend takes you deeper into another kind of night. At first, the water glows with color. The turquoise fades to deep sapphire, then indigo, then black. The light disappears. But the world does not. The ocean is not silent. It breathes, hums, whispers. Tiny creatures crackle like static. Schools of fish shimmer and vanish in unison. And the deep carries the echoes of life, vibrations you feel more than hear. Scientists call this region the midnight zone, but to nature it is something softer. It is the dream layer of the planet, a realm where energy moves in whispers, and survival is an art of patience. As you descend further, you pass through thermoclines, layers where warm surface water turns to sudden cold. The temperature drops like a sigh, and you feel the shift in your chest. Below, creatures begin to appear, not in the way you'd expect. They glow, softly, eerily, as though starlight has found a way to live underwater. Bioluminescent plankton drift past like sparks, jellyfish pulse like breathing lanterns, and strange fish with transparent bodies glide silently through the dark. Their light is not reflection, it's creation. They make their own glow through chemistry as precise as any equation. Did you know that more than 90% of deep-sea creatures can produce their own light? It's how they find food, how they recognize each other, and sometimes how they hide by shining just enough to erase their own shadow. The deeper you drift, the slower everything becomes. Even sound travels differently here. The water grows heavy with stillness, and you start to feel as though time itself has slowed. This part of the ocean, thousands of meters below, is a place few humans have ever seen, and yet it is vast, the abyssal plain, they call it. A landscape of darkness, stretching farther than any desert. Here, giant squid move with quiet precision, their long arms like silk ribbons in a current that never stops. Sometimes, two of them meet in the dark, a silent battle of tentacles and strength, witnessed only by flickers of bioluminescence. In that brief moment, the darkness itself seems to breathe. But not everything here is struggle. There is grace, too. Whole colonies of coral live in total darkness, feeding not on sunlight, but on drifting bits of life that fall like snow from above. This marine snow, as scientists call it, is the slow rain of the ocean, tiny fragments of plankton, shells, and ancient dust from the world above, falling endlessly through the water. Each particle carries a memory, a trace of something that once lived. And so, even in this silent deep, the surface world is never truly gone. Every drop of life continues the story. There's suspense here, a kind of sacred tension, because the deeper you go, the closer you come to the unknown. Even with all our technology, humans have explored less than 5% of the ocean floor. We know more about the surface of Mars than we do about the trenches beneath our own planet. In places like the Mariana Trench, depths reach nearly 11 kilometers. The pressure is unimaginable, like having 50 jumbo jets pressing down on every square inch. Yet, in that crushing silence, life still moves. Tiny crustaceans, ghostly fish, and microbes that thrive in darkness where no light has ever reached. Their very existence feels like defiance, proof that nature will find a way to breathe. Even in the impossible, there's one creature that scientists discovered not long ago, a translucent snailfish that lives deeper than any other known vertebrate. Its body is soft, almost gelatinous, its bones reduced to nothing. And yet it survives under pressures that would destroy anything else. It doesn't fight the deep, it becomes one with it. That's what life in the ocean teaches us. Adaptation isn't resistance, it's surrender, a quiet yielding to what is, until the impossible becomes home. Now imagine yourself hovering in this silent depth around you. Faint pulses of blue light drift like stars in slow motion. The only sound is the soft rhythm of your breath, and perhaps the echo of a whale far, far away, calling to another across miles of water. Their songs can travel thousands of kilometers, looping through the ocean's heart like the planet's own music. Scientists believe whales use these songs not only to communicate, but to navigate, each sound wave bouncing off distant mountains beneath the sea, mapping the darkness through sound. The ocean then becomes not an empty void, but a living instrument, a resonant space where every note carries meaning. And in that sound, in that darkness, you begin to feel something familiar. It's not fear, but awe, because what you're floating through now isn't emptiness, it's memory. Every molecule of this water is older than human history, older than mountains, older even than most stars you see above. The ocean remembers the beginning. It remembers when rivers first carved their paths, when clouds formed their first storms, and when the earth first dreamed of life. You drift a little deeper, and the water becomes warmer, not because of sunlight, but from heat rising from beneath. Hydrothermal vents appear, towering black chimneys releasing clouds of minerals into the sea. It looks like smoke in a windless world, and yet around these vents life flourishes. Picture yourself now, leaning over a wooden bridge at dusk. The world around you is falling asleep, but below, beneath the mirrored water, life continues in whispers. The river looks still, but beneath it, 1,000 tiny dramas unfold. Small fish move like living constellations, flashing silver for an instant before vanishing into the murk. Roots twist down from trees like veins reaching for nourishment. And along the riverbed, tiny creatures scuttle. Invisible architects of this hidden universe, the air smells of damp earth and moss. And as you watch, the ripples become gateways, opening and closing like dreams you can almost touch. Every river is not only a traveler, it's a home, a breathing ecosystem that sustains billions of unseen lives. Scientists call it a lotic ecosystem, but it's so much more than a name. It's a living city of movement and adaptation, and every species, from the smallest plankton to the silent heron above, has a role in its harmony. Under the surface, the journey of water becomes the journey of survival. Microscopic plants, called phytoplankton, float in the shallows, turning sunlight into oxygen, the breath of the river itself. These tiny green drifters, though invisible to the human eye, produce half the oxygen of our planet. Did you know that without rivers and lakes, the air we breathe would be thinner, sharper, almost lifeless? Every calm night by a river is filled with invisible generosity, the unseen gift of breath. Deeper still, the current carves pathways for organisms we rarely think about. Worms, insects, larvae, each a builder of life's foundation. They filter, clean, and recycle, transforming waste into nourishment. They are the hidden alchemists, quietly keeping the balance. A single square meter of riverbed can hold thousands of these creatures, all moving, all shaping the water's destiny. Further down, where light dissolves completely, something even more astonishing happens. Layers of silt and stone form a porous network, and through those tiny spaces, water continues to move, slowly, stealthily, carrying nutrients and oxygen. This movement beneath the river is called hyperheic flow, a secret heartbeat few ever know exists. It's like the river's subconscious, always active, even when the surface appears still. And within that layer, life flourishes, bacteria, fungi, and microscopic communities working together in unseen harmony. Imagine if our thoughts could flow like that beneath the surface, calm and continuous, even when the world above seems chaotic. The river teaches us this quiet persistence, this hidden grace. Above the water, the surface is busy too. A dragonfly skims across the ripples, wings catching the moonlight like glass, its body a brief streak of motion and silence. Frogs croak in the reeds, calling to each other in deep, rhythmic tones that echo across the water. Their sound is a lullaby of the wild, a reminder that nature's music never truly stops. It only changes its key further downstream. Where the river widens, larger life begins to appear. A heron stands motionless, eyes fixed on the surface, waiting, still as stone. The patience of a hunter mirrors the patience of the river itself. And when it strikes, in a flash of motion, balance is restored. The circle continues, without sound or ceremony. But perhaps the most mysterious inhabitants of rivers are those we rarely see, the ancient species that have drifted through eons of change, sturgeons that have swum since the age of the dinosaurs, freshwater eels that migrate thousands of miles, guided only by magnetic whispers. salmon that return from the ocean to the exact stream where they were born, guided by scent, memory, or something even older. Each one tells a story of endurance, of returning home through water that never stays the same. There's a poetry in this, that life can move forward endlessly while always remembering where it began. The river does this too, carrying the memory of the mountains in its minerals, the scent of the forests in its flow, and the whispers of rain clouds in every drop. The creatures that live within it are not just passengers. They are storytellers, translating the pulse of the planet into the rhythm of movement, feeding and being fed, shaping and being shaped. If you listen closely, the river speaks, not in words, but in motion. The sound of water slipping over stones is a language older than human thought. It tells of balance, of giving and receiving, of cycles that never end. We may walk beside a river and see only its surface, but deep down, something ancient continues, life passing through life, energy through energy, and in this stillness, as you imagine yourself leaning closer to the water's edge, you might feel a strange connection. The quiet world below the surface mirrors your own inner one. Both are full of motion. Both are alive, even in stillness. Both carry secrets that only reveal themselves when the world above grows silent. So, as we drift further along, let this understanding sink in, that even when things seem still, life is working quietly beneath the surface. Every calm moment has a current beneath it, and every silence hides a hum of creation. Now, as the night deepens, the river widens again. The water glows faintly under the moon, carrying its reflection like a secret letter. Ahead lies the next mystery, where rivers meet and merge, where one flow surrenders to another, and something entirely new is born. Let's follow it, softly, into the next chapter of its journey. Have you ever stood at the place where two rivers meet, where one current folds into another, and felt that strange sense of quiet power, that subtle vibration in the air, as though the earth itself is holding its breath? Have you ever wondered what happens when two great bodies of water, each with its own temperature, minerals, rhythm, and memories, finally touch? For a moment, they resist, swirling, circling, refusing to blend, like two old souls testing each other's strength before becoming one. Picture yourself standing at a confluence, that sacred place where two rivers meet. The sky is painted in indigo, and the water beneath you gleams like molten glass. You hear the dual heartbeat, one slow and deep, the other fast and light, merging into something that feels eternal. The currents crash softly against one another, not in anger, but in awe. Their meeting point, a line of shimmering tension that looks almost alive around you. The air hums with energy, the kind of silent electricity that comes before rain. And you realize you are standing at the edge of transformation. When rivers meet, something extraordinary happens, scientifically, spiritually, even emotionally. The confluence is more than a collision. It's an exchange, a negotiation of nature. Each river brings its own chemical signature, its own microscopic life, its own unique story written in sediment and salt. In the beginning, they resist one another, their waters forming visible boundaries, a pale, cloudy swirl where minerals and temperatures collide. The Amazon and the Rio Negro in South America are a famous example. For miles, their waters run side by side, without mixing, one brown and thick with sediment, the other dark and clear. The difference is so stark you can see it from the air, a natural yin and yang. But over time, the boundaries fade, molecules intermingle, and the two become one. In that merging, there's a lesson about identity and surrender, about how even the strongest currents eventually learn to blend. Every confluence is a reminder that change doesn't always happen in an instant. Sometimes it's slow, gradual, graceful, like the patient folding of waves into one another. But the mystery runs deeper. Beneath the surface, invisible to the eye, entire chemical and biological revolutions take place. When rivers meet, the temperature shifts, oxygen levels fluctuate, and new habitats emerge almost overnight. Tiny organisms, some carried for hundreds of miles, suddenly find themselves in new environments. Some perish, some adapt, and others flourish. Beginning cycles of life no scientist can fully predict. It's chaos and creation all at once. Even the sound changes. The subtle pitch of a river's flow alters at a confluence. The vibrations beneath the surface shift. Scientists have recorded that these sounds, imperceptible to the human ear, can affect the behavior of aquatic creatures. Fish, for example, often gather at confluences, not by accident, but because they can hear the difference. The mingling of vibrations acts like a beacon, a call, drawing life toward the union. And here's something even more astonishing. Ancient civilizations seemed to know this instinctively. Many of the world's earliest cities were built at river confluences, not only for trade and transport, but for spiritual reasons. In India, the meeting of rivers is considered sacred, a place where heaven and earth touch. In Scotland and Ireland, ancient Druids believed that standing at a river confluence during twilight allowed one to glimpse visions of the future. In Africa, the Yoruba people viewed river crossings as spaces where spirits could pass between worlds. Humanity has always sensed that where waters meet, the veil between realities grows thin. Imagine standing there now, the moon reflected twice, once in each river, its image trembling where they join. The air cools as mist rises from the merging streams, and you can almost feel the pull, a silent invitation to step closer. The water swirls, hypnotic and slow. The patterns shift like thought itself, circles within circles, dissolving, reforming, alive. You reach out, and for a heartbeat. You imagine that if you touched that line where the waters meet, you might feel thepals of the planet Asterisk. There's something deeply human about this dance of rivers. We too are made of currents, memories, and emotions flowing through us. Sometimes our inner streams collide, one carrying joy, another sorrow, and for a while, they resist each other, but like rivers, our feelings merge with time, blending into something new, something whole. The river, in this way, becomes a mirror of the mind. Each confluence is a moment of transformation. The water doesn't fight forever. It learns to carry the difference, to hold contradiction without breaking. That's what healing is, not separation, but flow, not control, but surrender. As the night deepens, you can hear the merging rivers hum beneath the stars, a low, continuous tone that feels older than language. If you listen closely, it sounds almost like breathing. The river's breath, the planet's exhale, a reminder that even in meeting and mixing, there is peace now, Imagine following this new, combined river downstream. It's stronger now, wider, more powerful, carrying the stories of both origins, the minerals of the mountains and the whispers of the plains. Its new current glows faintly under the moon, carrying reflections of constellations like drifting lanterns. There's a suspense in its journey. Where will it go next? What lands will it shape? What lives will it touch? The river itself doesn't know, and that's the beauty of it. It flows onward, guided not by certainty but by gravity, the pull of the earth's heart. And so, as we drift further into this merging flow, let this moment remind you that transformation isn't chaos. It's harmony in motion. Every meeting, every merging, every letting go is part of life's quiet evolution. You, like the river, are always becoming. Now, the river moves deeper into the wild, where mist thickens, and the forest leans close to listen. The air grows cooler, charged with unseen stories. For ahead lies a mystery older than the rivers themselves, the secret of where water disappears, slipping underground into the dark veins of the earth. Let's follow it there. Have you ever wondered where the river goes when it vanishes? When it slips away without a sound, as though the earth itself has swallowed it whole? You may have seen it before, a strong, glittering stream that suddenly disappears beneath a cliff, into an opening so dark it seems endless. Have you ever stood there, staring at that black mouth in the ground, and wondered, does the river die there, or is that where its secret life begins? Imagine now that we follow it. The night is cool, and the forest hums faintly behind you. You step closer to the edge, where mist curls upward from the hole, cold and whispering. The air smells of stone and something older, the scent of the earth's memory. As you lean closer, you hear the faint sound of movement, the soft, echoing voice of water flowing deep below. The surface world fades, replaced by the sound of the hidden, the ancient, the unseen. When a river disappears, it doesn't end, it transforms. Beneath our feet lies a secret world of underground rivers, vast networks that flow through caverns and stone, shaping the earth from within. These are called karst systems, named for the landscapes they create, places of sinkholes, springs, and caves that pulse with underground water. What looks like disappearance is actually a continuation, hidden from view in parts of the world like Slovenia, Mexico, and China. Entire rivers dive into the ground, threading their way through limestone mountains and hollowed corridors carved over millions of years. The process begins when rainwater, slightly acidic from carbon dioxide, seeps into cracks in the rock, slowly, silently. It dissolves the stone drop by drop, widening the fissures into tunnels, tunnels into caves, until the earth's interior becomes a labyrinth of flowing, lightless rivers. It's one of nature's most patient miracles, erosion turned into architecture. The water doesn't fight the rock, it persuades it, coaxes it, until both find their balance. Did you know that some of these underground channels can stretch for hundreds of kilometers? Some are so large that explorers have found entire forests of stalactites and stalagmites inside, illuminated only by the reflected shimmer of the river running beneath. Imagine walking into such a cavern, torchlight flickering across the walls, revealing glittering mineral veins, quartz, calcite, and the ancient bones of the earth. You can hear the soft echo of dripping water, plink, plink, each drop marking time itself. The river glides beside you, smooth and dark, whispering to the stone, and you realize that down here there is no sense of up or down, no direction, only flow. Scientists who study these hidden rivers often speak of them with a kind of reverence, for within them lie some of the most untouched ecosystems on Earth. In the darkness, life has found a way to adapt. Blind fish with translucent skin glide silently through black water, their bodies sensing vibrations rather than light. Tiny crustaceans glow faintly in the shadows, like sparks of bioluminescent dust. Some species here have never been seen anywhere else, born, evolved, and perished in total darkness. These creatures are the true ghosts of the earth. But what's even more mysterious is that underground rivers don't always stay hidden. They vanish, twist through the earth, and then, miles away, they return, bursting from the ground as crystal springs, clear and cold, as if reborn. Water scientists call this a resurgence, but it feels more like resurrection. The river, after traveling unseen for ages, emerges into daylight again, new, purified, transformed. It's as though it went on a long dream, a journey through silence, and woke, refreshed. There's something poetic about that, isn't there? The idea that vanishing doesn't mean ending, that sometimes, to continue, one must go beneath, must sink into stillness, must rest. Humans, too, have their underground rivers, those quiet places inside us, where thoughts go when they fall silent, where emotions flow unseen until they resurface as clarity. The river teaches us that even in disappearance, there is purpose, but there's more, deep within these caves. Under miles of rock, the river writes messages that only time can read. It leaves mineral traces, thin layers of calcite and crystal, marking every rise and fall, every drought and flood. Scientists studying these layers can read the story of ancient climates, the rhythm of the planets breathing across millennia. So even hidden, the river records history, engraving memory into stone. Now, picture the moment the underground river returns to the surface. The cave opens suddenly, and the darkness gives way to light. A burst of sunlight cuts through the mist, revealing the mouth of a spring, so clear you can see the stones beneath. The water sparkles, cold and alive. It's as if the earth has exhaled, releasing something sacred. And as the river rushes out, it hums, low, resonant, carrying the sound of the deep places it has touched. The suspense of its journey lingers, though, for every river that some never do, some disappear entirely into the earth, joining vast aquifers, the hidden oceans beneath continents. These aquifers are the planet's secret reservoirs, holding more water than all the world's lakes and rivers combined. They move slowly, drop by drop, sometimes taking centuries to reach the surface again. Imagine that a single drop of rain falling today might not see daylight for 1,000 years. As the night deepens, you stand at the mouth of one of these springs. Feeling the cool mist touch your face, you realize that this is the breath of the underground, the exhale of the hidden world. The river hums beside you, its journey unseen but unbroken. There's a silence here that feels alive. The stars above reflect faintly in the water, shimmering like memories returning to consciousness. You begin to feel that you, too, are part of this endless cycle, surface and depth, motion and stillness, visibility and invisibility. So, as you listen to the soft current flowing from the cave's mouth, remember, not everything that disappears is lost. Some things simply move deeper, waiting to return when the time is right. Now, follow the river once more, its waters glowing faintly under the silver of the moon. Ahead lies a vast plain where the river stretches wide and slow, a mirror of the night sky itself, but beneath its calm surface, something is changing, the beginning of its final transformation. For soon, this river will find the sea, and in that meeting, everything it has ever been will be tested, washed, and reborn. Let's follow it there, to the place where the river meets eternity. Have you ever stood at the edge of the world, that place where the land gives way to infinity, where the air grows heavy with salt, and the sound of crashing waves seems to come from the very heartbeat of the planet? Have you ever wondered what happens when a river, after its long, winding journey through mountains, forests, and valleys, finally meets the sea? It's a moment of both triumph and surrender, the end of one story and the beginning of another. The river has carried everything, silt and memory, whispers and storms, and now it stands before the vast unknown, ready to dissolve into something greater than itself. Picture yourself now standing on a moonlit shore. The river beside you flows steadily, its silver surface trembling with anticipation. Ahead, the sea stretches endlessly, dark and glittering. The air tastes different here, heavier, electric, full of quiet tension. You can hear the two bodies of water talking to each other, the low, rolling roar of the ocean, deep and eternal, and the whispering voice of the river, urgent and restless. This is the river's final act, the estuary, a place of endings and beginnings, a realm of transformation. The word itself comes from the Latin estuarium, meaning tide, and that's exactly what this place is, a meeting of opposites, where the pull of the tides mingles with the river's push, where the pulse of the earth can be felt in both directions. Here, the river hesitates before surrendering. It has traveled for hundreds, sometimes thousands, of miles, carving landscapes, feeding forests, carrying life. It has been shaped by mountains and weathered by droughts. It has flowed through villages and cities, through laughter and silence. And now it stands at the edge of the infinite sea, ready to give itself away. But before it merges, something miraculous unfolds. The mixing of river and ocean creates one of the richest ecosystems on Earth. Estuaries are the nurseries of the planet, where life begins, where young fish, crabs, and shrimp find shelter in the tangle of mangroves and reeds. Here, fresh and salt water create gradients of salinity that give birth to biodiversity, unlike anywhere else. The contrast of elements creates harmony, a balance that sustains entire cycles of existence. Scientists often call estuaries the cradle of the sea because so much marine life starts here. The gentle ebb and flow of tides brings nutrients, oxygen, and warmth, creating a perfect haven for growth. Imagine millions of microscopic plankton swirling in the water, glowing faintly in the dark, their light pulsing with the rhythm of the tides. Tiny fish dart between roots and seagrasses, hiding from larger hunters that patrol the deeper channels. Above, herons and egrets wade silently, their long shadows stretching across the glowing surface. But beneath the beauty lies an invisible tension, a constant negotiation between forces. The river brings minerals, soil, and memory. The ocean brings salt, power, and depth. They blend and repel, collide and merge, creating patterns of movement that never repeat. Sometimes the sea pushes inland, reclaiming territory, flooding the delta, reshaping it. Sometimes the river surges forward, its current strong after a storm, cutting new paths through sand and silt. It's a dance of power, eternal, endless, and perfectly balanced. The suspense in this meeting lies in its impermanence. Nothing here is fixed. The land shifts with each tide. Islands form and vanish. Channels move like dreams. To live here, as the creatures of the delta do, is to live with change, to surrender to motion. Yet there's peace in that surrender, a deep acceptance that everything must flow. Did you know that deltas, like the Nile or the Ganges, are some of the most fertile places on earth? Every grain of soil deposited by the river carries the essence of distant mountains, the minerals of ancient stones, the nutrients of entire continents. So when a river meets the sea, it's not just delivering water, it's delivering the memory of land itself. The sea accepts it, dissolves it, and gives it back to the cycle, evaporated into clouds, reborn as rain, beginning the journey again. And sometimes this meeting is violent. When storms rise, the ocean pushes back with fury, swallowing deltas, reshaping coasts. In those moments, the river's voice grows thin, but never silent. It waits, patient and enduring, knowing that every retreat is temporary. Eventually, the tide will fall, and the flow will continue, because that is what rivers do. They persist. There's an almost sacred poetry in this endless exchange. The river teaches us about the art of letting go. It travels so far, carries so much, and at the very end, it releases it all. It doesn't fight the ocean, it becomes part of it. Just as the ocean doesn't destroy the river, it welcomes it. The fresh water and salt water mix, creating something new, brackish, balanced, alive. As you stand there, the waves lapping softly at your feet, the moon rising high and silver, you can feel the pull of that truth within yourself. Life, too, is a river, carrying memories, dreams, mistakes, love, and in time, we all meet our own vast sea. We dissolve into something greater, leaving behind traces that become part of the world's endless rhythm. And as the tide rises, the boundary fades. The river loses its name, its edges, its identity. Yet in doing so, it becomes infinite. The sound of its current blends into the ocean's roar. The stars above reflect on the merging waters, a shimmering map of endings and beginnings intertwined. If you close your eyes, you can hear the whisper of the river's voice fading into the depths, not as a goodbye, but as a transformation. It says, "I have reached my journey's end, but my story flows on now." As you breathe in the salt-rich air, the sea mists cool on your skin. The world feels both vast and close, timeless and immediate. The river has found peace. But the story of water is far from over. For what flows into the sea will rise again, as vapor, as clouds, as rain, falling once more upon the mountains where the cycle begins anew. And so, as night deepens, the ocean gleams under the stars, endless and patient. The river's voice has joined the chorus of the waves, its journey now part of eternity. Ahead lies the open ocean, wide, unknowable, full of mystery. But even the ocean, vast as it is, must one day give its waters back to the sky. The cycle never ends, the flow never ceases. So let's follow it still, not with eyes, but with imagination, into the heart of the open sea, where the river's story dissolves into starlight and storm, where every drop remembers, and every wave begins again. Have you ever looked out over the open ocean and felt something ancient stir inside you, that quiet, haunting realization that you are standing before the planet's oldest mystery, a mirror that reflects both the heavens above and the abyss below? The river has ended its journey here, dissolving into the vast blue body that wraps around the world. But in truth, this is not an ending at all, it's an awakening. For the ocean is not merely water, it is memory, depth, and dream combined. And every drop that joins it becomes part of something eternal. Imagine yourself now, on the shore, at dawn. The night's last stars are fading, and the horizon burns with soft light. The tide rolls in slow and heavy, whispering its thousand-year song. Each wave that rises carries the weight of ancient mountains, melted glaciers, and distant storms. You step closer, and the cool foam kisses your feet, leaving salt on your skin. The sound is endless, the ocean breathing, exhaling, inhaling, like the pulse of a sleeping giant. And for a moment, you feel small, yet infinite, part of the rhythm that moves continents and cradles worlds. The ocean, Earth's oldest and deepest river, covers more than 70% of the planet's surface. It holds 97% of all the water that exists on Earth, and yet it remains more unexplored than outer space. Beneath its surface lies an alien realm of pressure and darkness, where light has never touched and life glows from within. When the rivers pour into the sea, they don't simply disappear. Their fresh waters rise, swirl, and sink in an eternal motion scientists call thermaline circulation, the great conveyor belt of the planet. It's a slow, majestic current driven by differences in temperature and salinity, carrying warmth from the equator to the poles and cold water back again. It's this hidden circulation that keeps our climate alive, distributing energy, shaping weather, and sustaining the breath of every living thing. But as we drift deeper into the ocean's heart, the light begins to fade. At about 200 meters below, the world turns twilight blue, shadows move like whispers, and the water feels heavier, colder, more secret. The creatures here glow faintly soft pulses of green, pink, and violet, drifting in the dark. This is the mesopelagic zone, the twilight layer, where sunlight can no longer reach, but life still shimmers like starlight underwater. Here, strange beings float, transparent jellyfish that look like glass ghosts, fish with lanterns for eyes, squid that can change color in the dark, each one adapted perfectly to the mystery of their world. They live where the light fades, but never truly dies, and as you imagine drifting among them, weightless, surrounded by an infinite blue dusk, you begin to sense something profound, that even in darkness, beauty finds a way to glow. Did you know that the largest migration on Earth happens here every night, not across land, but vertically through the sea? As the sun sets, billions of creatures rise from the deep, moving toward the surface to feed under cover of darkness. Then, when dawn breaks, they descend again, vanishing into the depths. It's a living tide of life. A silent ballet performed every day since before humans existed. Unseen yet vital to the balance of the world. Deeper still, below 1,000 meters. Sunlight disappears completely. Welcome to the abyssal zone. A world of eternal night. Here, pressure is crushing. Temperatures hover near freezing, and yet life persists. Giant tube worms cluster around volcanic vents, feeding on minerals that pour from the Earth's crust. Crabs with pale shells crawl across black sand plains, guided not by sight. There are fish with transparent heads and hearts that beat only once every few seconds. Every creature here is a quiet miracle, proof that life adapts, transforms, endures. Scientists have discovered that even in these deepest places, thousands of meters below the surface, rivers still exist, not of water, but of dense salt brine that flows along the seafloor like underwater streams. They carve channels, create waves, and even have their own banks and currents. An entire shadow world mirroring the rivers above. Imagine it. Rivers within oceans, flowing beneath the weight of eternity. Silent, unseen, infinite. And then there are the sounds. The ocean is never truly silent. Beneath its surface hums a symphony, the distant songs of whales, the crackle of coral reefs, the thunder of shifting icebergs far away. Whales, those gentle giants, carry their voices across hundreds of miles deep, resonant songs that may travel through entire ocean basins. Some scientists believe they use these sounds to map their world, to feel the contours of the earth itself through vibration. If you close your eyes, you can almost hear it now, the low, resonant call of a blue whale, like the heartbeat. The sound passes through you, ancient and patient, a reminder that life has always found its rhythm in the pulse of water. But perhaps the greatest mystery of all lies in the ocean's memory. Every molecule of seawater has lived countless lives, as glacier, as rain, as river, as mist. It has touched mountains and clouds, forests and fires. It carries within it the history of everything that has ever been. And when it evaporates, rising into the sky, it begins the cycle again, a liquid story retold endlessly across time. Standing on the shore once more, you look out across the endless expanse. The ocean gleams beneath the light of the moon, its surface a tapestry of movement, reflection, and silence. You realize the sea is not just a place, it's a process, a living, breathing loop of creation and return. And in that awareness, there's a kind of peace. The ocean, vast and unknowable, is also profoundly gentle. It holds the power to destroy, yet chooses, most of the time, to cradle, to balance. So as you listen to the rhythmic pull of the tide, imagine the river's water still there, somewhere within that vastness, drifting far from shore, joining the slow pulse of global currents, one drop among billions, yet still part of the same eternal journey. The suspense of the ocean lies in its endlessness. It has no walls, no center, no edges. It is the Earth's dream, constantly in motion, constantly reborn. And as the stars shimmer above, reflected in the dark waves below, you can't tell where the sky ends and the water begins. Now, as the night deepens and the waves grow softer, let your thoughts drift with the tide. Feel yourself floating, weightless, calm, connected to everything, for beyond the horizon, beyond even the deepest abyss, the ocean's water will rise again, carried upward by sunlight, lifted into clouds, ready to fall once more upon the mountains. To begin the river's song anew, let's follow it there, to the place where the sea exhales into the sky, where vapor becomes cloud and the story of water continues its infinite, cyclical breath, where endings fade into beginnings, and the rhythm of life never truly stops. Have you ever looked up at the clouds and realized they are rivers too, only set free from gravity's grasp? Have you ever wondered where a drop of ocean water goes after the sun touches it, lifting it silently toward the heavens? The ocean exhales and the sky inhales, and in that invisible breath, the next chapter of the river's story begins. You can almost feel it if you close your eyes, the warmth of the sun meeting the coolness of the sea, a shimmer of energy that turns liquid into air. In that delicate transformation, something miraculous happens. The same water that once carved mountains now becomes weightless, rising, shimmering, transformed into vapor. It drifts upward, joining countless other particles, forming great white shapes that float through the endless blue like dreams. Imagine yourself there, not as a person, but as a single droplet of vapor, light as mist, soaring gently above the sea. You drift higher, feeling the air grow cooler, thinner, more distant from the noise of the world below. You join a gathering, a cloud forming from a billion fellow travelers, each one carrying a story of its own. Some have risen from jungles, others from frozen lakes, others from faraway rivers. All are here now, weightless, connected, waiting from far below. The clouds may seem soft, lazy, peaceful, but inside, they are alive, swirling, growing, merging, colliding. Within their shifting shapes, invisible battles are fought between warmth and cold, vapor and ice, creation and collapse. The sky becomes a workshop of physics and poetry, where molecules dance in rhythms too fine for the eye to see. Did you know that a single cumulus cloud, those puffy white mountains that drift across summer skies, can weigh more than 1,000,000 pounds, and yet it floats, held aloft by the invisible lift of rising air? Nature's balance is so delicate, so precise, that even something that heavy can appear light as a feather. Suspended in an endless dream, as the day passes, winds begin to gather, pushing clouds together, shaping them into towering forms. The small cumulus you once were part of now stretches upward, reaching miles into the sky. Its base grows darker, its crown whiter, and you feel a strange electricity building all around. The warmth that lifted you now collides with cold air from above, and suddenly droplets begin to form. Condensation, the grand reversal, where vapor becomes liquid again, the air trembles with energy. The cloud has become a living thing, a massive, churning entity with a pulse and a purpose. You can sense the potential building inside, a suspense that hums through the atmosphere. Each droplet grows heavier, pulled toward the earth by the quiet hand of gravity. Thunder murmurs in the distance, the sky's heartbeat, and lightning flickers like thought across the cloud's mind. Then, without warning, the balance breaks. The air releases its burden, and rain begins to fall. You tumble from the sky, falling through mist and wind, the air rushing past. You're no longer vapor, but water once more, pure and cool. The descent is both terrifying and thrilling, like a leap into destiny. Around you, millions of other droplets are falling too. A storm has been born, the sky weeping, cleansing, rebirthing the world below. From far above, the landscape unfolds. You see rivers gleaming like silver threads, forests swaying under the rainfall, deserts sighing in relief as parched soil drinks the gift from heaven. Each drop finds its place. Some fall into oceans and lakes, some onto stone and leaf, and some, like you, land softly on the slope of a mountain. The impact is gentle, like waking from a long dream. You rest for a moment on the cool moss, then slowly begin to trickle downward, merging with others, forming tiny streams that sparkle in the fading light. The rain becomes runoff, runoff becomes flow, flow becomes a stream, and thus the river is reborn. This endless cycle, this invisible pulse, is the heartbeat of the planet. Water rises and falls, evaporates and condenses, freezes and melts, yet it never truly ends. It simply changes form, dancing between states, connecting the sky to the sea, the mountain to the plain, the body to the soul. Did you know that the water in your body, every drop in your blood, your breath, your tears, once belonged to a cloud? It may have fallen as rain on ancient forests, or coursed through the veins of a prehistoric creature. It may have slept for centuries in glaciers before awakening again as a droplet in your palm. The water cycle is not just a scientific process. It is reincarnation on a planetary scale. As you follow your journey downward, now as a raindrop reborn into a new stream, you pass over stones carved smooth by time, through patches of grass that glisten like emeralds. You feel gravity tugging gently, always downward. The world hums softly with renewal, and everywhere the scent of rain rises, petrichor, the perfume of rebirth. At night, the rain slows, the air cools, and mist begins to gather again. You rise softly into fog, drifting just above the earth, between cloud and ground. You exist in a twilight world, neither sky nor land, but both. You hover in the hush of dawn, where every sound feels distant, every moment suspended. It's here that the suspense deepens, for the journey of water is not random. It's a pattern older than life. It moves with intention, as if guided by unseen wisdom. It is drawn toward balance, toward wholeness, toward the endless exchange between above and below. And as the first light of morning touches the mist, something inside you stirs the quiet awareness that every transformation carries memory. The ocean remembers the mountain, the cloud remembers the sea, and the rain remembers the sun. All are parts of the same breath, inhaling and exhaling across millennia. You are no longer just a droplet. You are the traveler, the witness, the pulse of the earth's eternal rhythm. Now the rain fades, the sky clears, and sunlight breaks through the mist, turning every drop into a diamond of light. You feel warmth again, the gentle reminder that every fall is only a prelude to rising once more. The water cycle has turned, the sky has given its gift, and the rivers below await their rebirth. So let us follow that rain now as it gathers strength, joining others, forming streams that twist through valleys. Let's follow it as it becomes a river once more flowing down from the mountains, singing its new song, continuing the story of Earth's endless heartbeat. For the suspense of the sky has only just begun, and the river's next chapter awaits among roots, stones, and soil, hidden beneath the green breadths of forests, where sunlight dances through leaves, calling the water home again